little brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Taking over. We the people are little brother, standing by to dethrone each other, watching you and watching me. Paranoid, the lens is our weapon, desensitized in our lust for attention, democratized by our voyeur obsessions, watching you and watching me. Still lives to perfection, don't let them project you as you are. Reveal your every flaw. I know you're out there somewhere. We watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. The little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching. We watch you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching
Let your experience begin right now. From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio. You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride as we are live on Spaced Out Radio.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening and welcome to Space Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, and thank you so much for tuning in to our first broadcast on our new host, Spreaker. I do apologize if the levels are a little bit rough, a little bit high. We have to adjust things as we get going here, but things are going to turn out just fine as we come in once again from the frozen Canadian tundra, battle our way past the wild animals, sidestep Bigfoot, and enter Uncle Jimbo's cabin, stoke the fire, heat this place up, and broadcast to you live on this Monday night, early Tuesday morning if you're on the East Coast. Here at SOR, we do this thing 7 days a week. We want to be your official one-stop shop when it comes to the supernatural, paranormal, conspiratorial, ufological, and so much more. Spaced Out Radio's theme music is courtesy of guitar god Ron Bumblefoot THAL. You can find his new album, Little Brother Is Watching, by going to spacedoutradio.com. Hey, if you're a social media junkie like I am, you can follow us on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio. You can give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can ask to join Spaced Out Radio's group as well as Podcast Central. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, and of course our website is spacedoutradio.com. At this time, we'd love to send a shout out to our fans in the new Spaced Out Radio chat room, along with our fans at Paranormal Into the Night and Paranormal Forum. Thank you so much for tuning in. And hey, we know we have a lot of listeners out there who may not have got the news that we have moved over to Spreaker. Do me a favor. Go on your social media, spread it out that Spaced Out Radio is now on Spreaker. You guys are used to us broadcasting off of Blog Talk Radio. We are no longer there. We are no longer looking back. This is about moving forward. This is a big step for us, and we want our audience to make sure that they know where we are. So make sure you let them know. If you're a fan of Spaced Out Radio, coming soon is our Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers membership, where for only $5 a month, you can go on our website, sign up, win prizes, take part in private group interviews, have a special section on our website, and much more. We'll be giving you more details as the time comes, and we will definitely be giving you, for your $5, more than just access to our archives. Tonight's show is brought to you by Rivulet Reiki and Readings, providing healings in person or at a distance. PurplePlates.com. Help heal your body, mind, and soul. 80,000 people a month read the new Agora newspaper, and the Spirit Storybox, the official ghost hunting app of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, we open a new chapter to Spaced Out Radio. We've taken a big step, not a massive one, but large enough that it makes this show more efficient and easier to listen to with a higher quality of audio for you, the listener. With all the changes and long days we've been putting into this, we do have more exciting times coming. Our new look website at spacedoutradio.com will have more pages and content, including our new Space Travelers group. Our sound is different, courtesy of guitar legend Ron Bumblefoot THAL. As of April 18th, we will be moving to 3 hours from 2, bringing in a more unique way of broadcasting. We will also have a store coming along with more interactive content for you. We've moved quickly on this because of you, the listener. You spoke and we listened. Spaced Out Radio is about you. I know you've heard me say that before, but it's God's honest truth, which honestly makes hosting this show so much more fun when we include you and your questions on it. But what will remain the same is the integrity and the honesty of the journalism and the program that has won your listening ears over to Spaced Out Radio. Our guests will still be top-notch, and we hope that you can help us out with the growing popularity of this show, as the best is still yet to come. Now, for tonight's show, we are starting a new monthly paranormal feature on tonight's show. You see, we have cryptids and aliens covered, but in my opinion, as I looked into it, we left a whole section of the supernatural population out of it. And that was a big part with the paranormal. The paranormal field, to me, is like being single at the bar. You have no idea what to expect. You may be hanging out with friends, and sometimes you just don't know who the hell is who. Who's telling the truth? Who's playing a game? Or who's spiking your drink? What I mean by this is the paranormal field has some great people in it, but integrity always seems to be questioned. So, this is where I went to bat with a few close friends of mine, and close friends of this show, Glenn, Derek, Troy, and Mike from Canada's Chronicles of the Unknown. These are guys in the paranormal field that I trust, and I hope you gain that trust too. I have seen them investigate firsthand. You've heard their live broadcasts on this show a couple of months back, and these guys have been in the trenches. They're not here to make anything up for the camera or for added evidence. It's not about style, fashion. It's about finding out the answers to what is out there and what is keeping spirits here. They bring a unique style and approach to their investigations, which includes a lot of old school techniques combined with today's ultra-sensitive technology. On that note, we bring in Derek and Troy from Chronicles of the Unknown. Derek, thank you so much. Troy, you as well.
How's it going? Thanks for having us.
You know what? I'm so glad to be having you guys on the air tonight. I got to tell you, I'm a little nervous. This is a big step for Spaced Out Radio. And Derek, you being the intuitive that you are, you actually called this shot a number of months ago when you were visiting my own home.
Yep. I told you that it'll go bigger. If you make that big move, you got to take that shot, and then it's up to you to do it. You had to make that decision, so you did.
Well, we made it.
Proud of you guys.
Thank you so much. And you know what? I want to tell the audience, I actually bounce a lot of ideas off of Derek. I've been doing that basically since I started this show. And Derek is such a positive force for what this show is all about that we need to continue to explain that, because without people like Derek and the advice that he has given, this show doesn't probably get off the ground. So Derek, thank you for that. I know you don't take compliments. I know you don't take compliments well, but this is what it is all about. Troy, thank you so much for joining us as well tonight.
I'm glad to be part of your new format, Dave. Thanks for having me on.
So, how we're going to work this tonight, and this is the first of a monthly installment with members from Chronicles of the Unknown. Tonight we have Derek and Troy. Next month we'll probably have Glenn and Mike, and we'll introduce you to them. From there, what will happen is we will be able to intermix the group because we're going to tackle so many different topics in regards to the paranormal field. It's not just about investigating, it's not just about the spirits, and it sure as hell is not just about getting a television pilot. So, Derek, let's start out with you. For people who may not recognize who you are, I would love it if you explain to the audience, right from the beginning, how you got into the paranormal field and what you bring to Chronicles.
Well, with me, I've been doing, I could say, paranormal investigating for many years, but I didn't even know the word paranormal had existed. I just helped people deal with making contact with loved ones that have passed away, and a lot of them actually would say they have something, they think they have something in their home or something bothering them, and whether it's their home or their property or a location. So I would go there and show up and see what I could find. And I didn't have my buddies with me at the time. I mean, we didn't know each other then. Many years ago, I was on my own, and when you start going into a place by yourself, you're taking chances, more and more responsibility on your own, independently. You don't have anybody with you. You know, if you ever, like I always tell people, I like walking in the dark because you know how you can handle things on your own. But if you have other people with you, then you're responsible for them as well. And but many years ago, when I had my opportunity to, I guess to say, deal with a spirit or spirits in the home, was actually my own experiences. Because when I was a kid, we moved into this old house. My family moved into a little house in Alberta, and the house itself was haunted, and most of it was haunted upstairs. And that's where my sister and myself, we slept upstairs. Mom and Dad slept downstairs, so nothing bothered them downstairs, but upstairs I was always getting bugged. They didn't bother my sister much, but they kept on waking me up all the time and trying to hear all those cracks and creaks, and you think, well, it could be just the wind or it could be something else. But I think the most scariest, or not scariest part, well, in one point was scary because you didn't know. And I kept watching too many horror movies with my mom late at night sometimes. But I guess I realized after, when the spirit started waking you up middle of the night and wanting to talk to you, and you find out later these are people that passed away or once passed away in these properties, because that's how it worked from there on.
And Troy, what got you involved in the paranormal?
Well, for me, it's I probably had my first experience with the paranormal when I was a child, and kind of like Derek, I lived in a house that was haunted, and we experienced things in there, like I heard my name a couple times, and my aunt had seen apparitions in the house, and we always heard footsteps and things like that, and just through growing up, I was always interested in things I didn't understand. I never came from a religious family or anything like that, but I always wondered about religion and spirits and God and the devil and all those sorts of things. And as I got older and studied history and different I wouldn't say I studied theology, or got into any specific religion, but I like to learn a little bit about lots of things. And I've just always been interested in pretty much anything in paranormal. And, it was probably about 5 years ago that I bumped into Glenn, which was, oddly enough, probably the first time in my life that I've ever met anybody that's as like-minded as I was in it. And here he was, going out in the field and doing investigations, and that just intrigued me so much. I just, that was it. There was no holding me back from there.
We are talking with Troy Ryan and Derek White Sky Cloud from Chronicles of the Unknown, our new paranormal series that will happen once a month here on Spaced Out Radio. Now, when it comes to the paranormal, Troy, do you recall what your first paranormal investigation was like How did you feel about it? Because I know you personally, but our audience doesn't. And I do know that you seem quite skeptical going in.
Well, it's one thing to be skeptical, but that just because you're skeptical doesn't necessarily mean that you don't believe. And I can say on my very first investigation, I was very nervous. Very, very nervous. I would go so far as to say I was a little bit scared because I absolutely didn't know what to expect. I mean, I've had heard stories of, disembodied voices and apparitions and people being touched. And to me, that just seemed like someone being touched. That was just, I couldn't even fathom that. So I was quite nervous my very first time.
And Derek, when you decided to take a look at the paranormal investigation side from what you had experienced your whole life, how did that change your outlook on the paranormal, considering you probably didn't expect that much action to be out there?
Well, I think a lot of it, too, is all to do with we never, like I said before earlier, years ago, that word paranormal never even existed. We never even knew what that meant. You just, everyone kept talking about, the people that passed away or the existence of ghosts. That's pretty well it. But we never realized that how, I guess to say, curious so many people became after. And I mean, I remember through the years growing up, a lot of people kept on saying they don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear about the story. I don't want to hear what you taught, what happened to this person, unless it becomes a scary story, so to speak. But for some reason, I remember we sit by campfires and we're always making up stories, ghost stories about certain people that passed away or how people lost their lives, or just trying to make it more intriguing. And I guess I would say that campfire story became the TV show, what you see on TV. And I think I want to give basically thumbs up to the British, because they were pretty well, I would say, the first people that took a chance to start from making a paranormal investigative TV show back in the 90s or 1990s. I mean, most time you actually would see TV shows that would come on, and they always do documentaries about certain people dealing with ghosts, but it was never all to do with people participating live on location. I guess I think also another one of the shows that people wanted to investigate was Houdini and of his ghost after he passed away, and people wanted to do seances. So they mix it up a little bit in that genre of past. And today my interest was to make the contact with the loved ones that have passed away, make contact with people that passed away, because I was more involved in seances than I was paranormal investigating before I got into this. So, but there's a bit of a difference between that and this.
Now, Derek, for people who don't know who you are, you come from a First Nations background, which is a lot more spiritual and a lot more connected to Mother Earth, to the other side. Do you think that brings an entirely different outlook to what you do with Chronicles of the Unknown compared to, say, what the rest of the team does?
Hard to say. I mean, I guess I'd say that families have all been, and I would say that's not just because you're a First Nations or Aboriginal person. I think every family from every culture talked about ghost stories or talked about people of the Walking Dead, or people have certain beliefs that they would take. They celebrate that loved one's life that's passed away, and sometimes people do ceremonies like, say, round dances. They would celebrate once every year for 4 years of that person that passed away, celebrating the anniversary of their passing for 4 years, and it would be a 3-day fest. And the fest would be, we would drum, we would pray, we would feast with food. Everyone gets together and they would celebrate that person's life, and have giveaways. It was a good thing. Then there are other cultures that have a tendency of not wanting to. They're taught never to talk about the passing of that loved one, because they're afraid they're taught not they figured if you talk about them once they pass away, they're thinking that they're stuck in this earth, and they're not. And I've gone to different websites recently, and I've listened to some of the people on some of their beliefs, and these are people who call themselves proclaimed psychics, and they think that we're not supposed to talk about the dead, that there could be earthbound, and they're not earthbound. Nobody is earthbound. The only version of my version of earthbound is because they choose to stay. We don't make them stay. We're not holding them back to move on. They'll make that decision on their own. They were born here before us, so why can't they leave now when they feel like it?
Derek, what's the biggest difference between what Chronicles of the Unknown does and the team you guys have assembled compared to what you have seen in other paranormal groups? Because there are so many differences in groups and styles and people who are able to investigate that really you want to try and be a little bit different. What makes you different?
What makes us different is because we like to look for the history of an event that took place in the past. And if there's any spirits that are connected to it that want to make contact, I mean, sometimes whenever it's all to do with, say, a dramatic, traumatic, a sudden death of someone, whether it's a murder, or this person was incensed on murdering people, and or someone maybe be practicing some bad black magic, so to speak, devil worshipping. It can be pretty well anything that somebody, I mean, I'm not going to base this all on one lump sum because there's always different beliefs that people have. And sometimes you don't like to leave this earth, and sometimes people will pass away not knowing they've already died. So it takes people like us, myself as a medium, to help them cross over or to make contact with them to find out why they're still sticking around. And we look for the proof. When we look for the scientific means. It's just as much as me being the messenger. And the difference between, I guess, say, making the contact is I allow these ghosts, spirits, talk through me if necessary. I've learned to step back and let them speak through me and to say what they want to say and see if they're angry or if they want to move ahead or they just want to stay. I mean, there are people that love their property when they're alive and leave it, and there's people that call it desecrated land. You know, a lot of times First Nations people have their land dug up by government or by a company, and they buy out the property, and they'll dig up all the graveyards, and they start putting housing on it or buildings on it or a highway, whatever, and next thing you know, we end up showing up at those places to see how come it's always unsettled. So that's pretty well. We like to look to do the historical research to prove to the public that, you know, we're not just your regular paranormal team.
Mm-hmm. And Troy, I'm curious your opinion on that, because every team has a little bit of a skeptic, and if you saw me right now, I actually have my fingers going skeptic with the quotation marks in it. You know, you consider yourself that, but in the end, is your opinion being changed by the evidence that you are finding?
You know, that is definitely happening, Dave. There's no doubt in my mind. You know, we go to these locations, and most times especially me, I haven't been to them before. So I don't know what to expect. You know, I don't know, for example, the stories. Are people seeing things? Is there apparitions? Is there, you know, poltergeist type activity? What's going on? I never know any of that. You know, kind of like Derek, we all pretty much go in that way. Most locations that we do go to, we really don't know what to expect when we get there. It's just a matter of setting up equipment, going through, and basically, you know, waiting to see if anything happens, or in Derek's case, if he feels anything, and, you know, we'll go by his direction quite a bit. But I will say, for me, the evidence that we have captured on, you know, the investigations we've done that I can't explain is quite compelling. I mean, when you get Class A EVPs or you get physical attacks from things you can't see, that's quite compelling to me. Like, I don't know, that's how do you explain that away? You can't.
We are talking with Troy Ryan and Derek White Sky Cloud from Chronicles of the Unknown. This is a new feature every month on Spaced Out Radio. Gentlemen, we are going to hop out for our first break. When we come back, we're going to learn about the paranormal. How do you know when you go into some places haunted? And what do you do if you're attacked? You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. Hey, I hope you love the new sound. We're live on Spreaker, show number 1. I'm excited, pumped up. I hope you are too. We'll be right back.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Hi there. This is your medium, Joanna, from Spaced Out Weekend, 2 mediums and a large. I would love it if you would come and join us with host James Tyson every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. Together, we will take your calls and your questions live. Our goal is to provide you with a positive outlook on deep questions that you may have. Questions regarding love, relationships, money, or whatever else is on your mind. Come and check us out at spacedoutradio.com.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hi there, this is Elizabeth Anglin, and on the last Monday of every month, I join Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's Cosmic Passport. We delve into everything from extraterrestrial contact to animal communication. It's a lot of fun, and every month it's something different and exciting. I would love it if you would join us. You can hear and learn from my experiences, and I'd like to know about yours as well. Cosmic Passport on spacedoutradio.com.
Hey everybody, this is Patrick Webster Small, and I'm here to bring you the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night, live at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. If you're looking for aliens and extraterrestrials, well, we've got them. Big and tall, short and small. You're bound to find what you're looking for, so join me on the Webster Phenomena right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Have you ever wondered about those weird and strange creatures people have reported throughout history? Do you wonder if those stories are real? Me too, and that's why I started Cryptopia.us. Hey, this is Rob Morphy, crypto historian. Join me once a month on Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, where we will get into the odd and bizarre reports, from the Dover Demon to hairy hominids and everything in between. I will break down what people like you and me are seeing at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to advertise on Spaced Out Radio? Getting your message out to Spaced Out Radio's listeners will benefit you. Our listeners are loyal, intelligent, and supportive, and they support those who support this broadcast. For pricing and information, you could go to spacedoutradio.com to find the pricing guide that suits your needs, with many options to choose from. Advertise with Spaced Out Radio today by contacting us at info@spacedoutradio.com.
I'm so glad to be here. I'm just really glad to be here. All right.
Would you like to connect with us on Spaced Out Radio? Head to spacedoutradio.com to check out the latest shows, guests, and sponsors. And don't forget to sign up for the Space Travelers Club. You'll find all you need at spacedoutradio.com. And welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning in to our first broadcast off our new server, Spreaker, getting lots of compliments on the sound. Do me a favor, if the sound is low, because I'm still learning the board, if it's low or it's down like you have been, let me know. That way I will know where to play the commercials, how loud to play them, how loud the audio is going. This is going to be something that we just got to fiddle with until we get the right zen, the right sound, the right chi. That's what we're looking for. And we're aiming to get there ASAP. Tomorrow night on the show, Rob Morphy, the crypto historian, is going to join us. He is battling a little bit of a flu. If he cannot make it tomorrow night due to the flu, he's trying his hardest to get better for it because we had technical problems last month and he couldn't make the show. Thank you, Blog Talk Radio, where we are no longer located. But if Rob is feeling good enough, he's going to do the show tomorrow night. If we do not do the show with Rob, we're going to have open lines tomorrow night. I want to hear your stories. So it'll be one of the two topics tomorrow night. Hey, if you want to follow us on Spreaker, go to Spaced Out Radio, follow us. We want to get 1,000 invites. We've got 622 around there. I want 1,000. When I get 1,000, I am going to apply for this show to iHeartRadio. That's my goal. I want to get on iHeartRadio. And if I go in with 1,000 followers, I'm pretty sure they are going to have a serious look at us. So I need your help with that. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. You can give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott, SOR, and our new look website is spacedoutradio.com. And don't forget that each and every one of these broadcasts will be downloaded to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives will always remain free. So, tonight we are talking paranormal with Derek White Sky Cloud and Troy Ryan from Chronicles of the Unknown. This is a new feature that we are going to be doing monthly on this show with the members of Chronicles. Glenn and Mike will come on next month. Troy, Derek, thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate you guys coming on.
No, great. I just look forward to being on here on you. We haven't spoken to you for a long time, so makes a big difference while you're way in the snow mountains and the cold weather, while Troy and I are basking in the sun and the heat and the palm trees here in beautiful Vancouver.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you, Derek. The snow is melting up here. The snow is melting. And you know what? I actually wore a short sleeve shirt today for the first time, as it was warm. It was 15 degrees Celsius today, so in Fahrenheit, that's about 65. That is a heat wave up here, an absolute heat wave.
Do you know what they call a true BC winter?
Rain.
A person who wears a parka, shorts, and sandals.
Well, I have my shorts, no socks on, and I have a T-shirt on, and I am loving it. Thank you so much. Hey, gentlemen, we're talking paranormal tonight, and I absolutely love the fact that you guys are with us, because this is going to be very big for this show as we move forward, and you guys bring a whole different element to it when we are going to be talking paranormal. In the first half hour, we really focused on what Chronicles was about and what you guys brought to the table. When you guys go out to an investigation, and this really has nothing just to do with Chronicles, but paranormal activity on your own, what is it like, Troy, when you have this skepticism that you're not sure what is truly out there or what is causing these noises or things to move, and then you get touched?
Hello?
Yeah,
Oh,
Troy.
there.
Troy, are you?
Yes, I'm here.
Troy.
Did you hear the question, Troy?
Troy just got
I
touched.
did. I got half. Sorry, I only heard half the question. You were in the middle of the question and everything went dead. What happened?
It's that damn paranormal that's around you, Troy. What I was asking is, Troy, you being the skeptic of the group, and I'm not sure if you really appreciate that title, but you've described yourself as that way to me. But you've been the one who's trying to put a logical explanation into everything that goes into an investigation, whether it's noise or chairs creaking or things moving out of the corner of your eye and you turn and look and there's nothing there. But what is it really like when it becomes physical to you and you get touched?
Well, it's not that I'm a skeptic so much as that I really like to think things through. I'm not so quick to say something is what you perceive it to be. It's almost like those movies when the scary monster jumps out and everybody runs and one guy stands there and gets eaten. I'm probably that guy. The guy who's still trying to figure it out while everybody has the sense to run, But when it happens to you, it's kind of like it. You don't know what to make of it because now you're in that group that it's happened to me. I'm going to say it's happened to me, and some people are going to believe me, and some people aren't, and it goes into that personal experience thing. But the more these things happen to you, the more you realize that there's stuff going on that fascinates me. I don't know what it is, but there's definitely there's things that can touch me that I can't see. That to me is I don't know what that is.
Troy's known to get not as much touched. Troy's the one that always gets attacked.
I wouldn't say always, but because Glenn gets attacked, I think more than anyone.
Well, yeah. No, but you look at both you and Glenn alone.
Yeah, but I've caught lots of disembodied voices on tape and stuff, and heard them with other people as well.
Well, gentlemen, let's talk about this for a moment. Why, Derek, do you think that it's Troy and Glenn who are the ones who are always attacked, whereas you and Mike rarely have that happen to you?
I don't know. It is. I think it's because the spirits have a way. See, I think it's because of how we present ourselves to the spirit, to the ghosts, or to the people in the room that are passed away. Each of us has how we present ourselves walking in the room, and for Troy, I mean, my observation with Troy, he's a fellow that when you've got for example, a K2 meter in his hand, or if it's a camera, he's in there and he's right there with you, right? And he's right there whether he's panning on me or Glenn or Mike. So he's got the camera on us, or if not, he decides to have a K2 meter and he goes on his own, and we're with him watching him, and he's out there like I'm just pushing, like he just goes and goes, because he's just as curious as we are. Myself, I've been there. I'm not going to go jump in. I wait for them to come to me instead of me just go after them. Unless I'm actually feel led that I got to go there, I will. Is that making sense, Troy?
I guess, yeah, because I do like to poke around. I mean, I'll come out and say it. I'm not afraid of the dark. It's for whatever reason I like to poke around and see what's in the corners and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I do tend to wander off sometimes and check things out. However, when I do have had these things happen to me, I haven't been by myself. There always seems to be other people around at the same time. So it's strange.
Now, Derek, in the group, you are the psychic shaman of the group, where you're actually communicating and actually have, at times, you will invite spirit into your body. Why do you do this?
I guess it's not an intention to dare yourself to call them out. I felt that it through so many years of the work that I do, observed so many other mediums. I guess we'll say, looking at people from international countries, that they used to sit still in a room while the spirit would come to them and speak through them, and that was called a trance medium. Not your typical medium say, well, there's someone in this room and he looks like a man or looks like a woman and he sounds like somebody who's, say a John in the room, and we're seeking out the person's name. With the trance medium, that person who is passed will they fit their body through you like a glove, and they want to speak through your voice. They want to look through your eyes and communicate to whomever wants to hear them. And that's part of me that I've always had interest in doing since I was young. And there are some very good mediums, trance mediums out there. Glenn's mom, for example, was a very good trance medium. She was very famous in England. So she was, like even Glenn observed, he was telling me that the way he observed me in my work, I reminded him of his mom, what his mom did. So that was a big compliment. I never realized that this man had great respect for me, because I was I'm straightforward, honest. I don't make up stuff. I don't want to make up stuff. If I'm not sure about something, that's all I'm going to give you. And I think the fun of it, I'm not so fond of the spirits, but it has a way of making fun through us or with us, and that's where Mike, who works with me as a partner at times, and then a few times I've startled Mike, and he didn't really know me that well at the beginning when we were up in Barkerville, for example. And I guess twice, I would say, but one time we were in one of the buildings investigating, and the ghost walked in from behind me, who I invited, and apparently his face came out of my face, and I guess Mike was looking down as he was looking up no more than 3 feet from me. I guess the ghost's face came right out of my face and went, "Arr!" Like just out at Mike, and just startled the heck out of him. He ran behind the bar. I don't blame him for being scared, because get away from me. All you hear is get away from me, get away from me. But it wasn't me that was doing it. It was what was coming out of me, and I guess he's never had that experience before. So for him, it was a first time. I mean, he's dealt with interests of the paranormal, but he's never gone to the next level of what really goes on. And sometimes there are some major challenges that we have to learn to overcome our fear. And it's not as much the darkness that most people should be afraid of, because they're used to being they're always taught to be afraid of the dark because of television, the media, the television.
I don't know, Derek.
Do you think that?
I got to interrupt you there, Derek, because going on these investigations with you guys, I've seen things enter you that you haven't invited as well, and not just you, Glenn and Mike as well have had things enter them and affect them to the point. I mean, the way they think and what they're doing, their actions.
Yep.
So it's not always invited. I'm glad that hasn't happened to me yet, but I've seen it happen to each and every one of you.
Yep, and that's the thing, that this is what I'm trying to point out. There's a lot of things that most of these guys haven't learned yet, and that Mike, Glenn have already dealt with. I mean, many times Glenn would get hit so hard he ended up going run outside and throw up in different locations. There was a part that Mike pretty well almost, I guess, like a possession in one of our investigations, that it pretty well, the spirit was trying to get him to walk away from the location, but to hurt himself. And
that's right.
Or to get hurt. And so, I mean, we don't realize subconsciously, unconsciously, we don't know. We can't always control what we understand, and these are some of the cautionary things. Like I tell people, yes, it's wonderful to have the curiosity about the paranormal. Yes, if you want to walk with us and come into an investigation and learn about the spirits and ghosts, but you have to understand that there could be a lot of danger in it too. You have. That's why we have to be here. You can't walk in by yourself.
Well, that's right, and that's why sometimes even when, being referred to as a skeptic, it's kind of, well, I'm not, because I wouldn't go into a place without protection either, whether it be we pray before we go in, or we smudge, or we have crystals in our pocket, or the cross with Jesus on it, or whatever. The bottom line is I'm more what's going on from a scientific standpoint than from a skeptic standpoint, because now that the more I experience this stuff, you start to become a little more in tune to it as well. It's just strange going over some of the EVPs from our last investigation. There was times when we think we hear things and we say that we poo-poo it, but there is stuff on the tapes. So that's kind of cool too.
Derek, I have a couple questions coming for you, because when you said that you allow the transmediumship to happen, there's a couple people asking questions here. Nisa in Paranormal Into the Night is asking, Derek, are you not afraid that the spirit might get stuck in your body?
No, I can't be, because I have a guide that I work with. His name is White Bear, and he's the one that takes care of everything. I've had my fill of possessions. One time I had a ghost walk into my body, where I guess I learned the lesson of it, but I had a ghost walk into my body, and I had no control over me, over my eyes, and I felt very sick and ill. And I felt very lethargic, but the spirit was trying to see through my eyes, and I found out later that he was trying to possess my body, control me, of me. But I found out later from this person that the person who I was speaking about had committed suicide. And I guess when he committed suicide, he thought, well, you know what? I'm going to try and see if I can come back, and I'll just use this guy's body, and I'm trying to control him. And he wanted to see through my eyes, and I had difficulty with. I felt lethargic. I was constantly throwing up. Like, I went through the similarities what Glenn went through many years ago, and I had to I had to understand one thing, that Troy talks about prayer. It is important that we have to do a prayer of protection. It is very important to protect ourselves. And that's something that I forgot to do at one time. Everybody's entitled to make a mistake. I mean, there was even a time that our crew here was a bit of too much of a hurry to get inside and get set up, but they forgot that they didn't start to do a prayer of protection before they got started. And when I'm laying tobacco outside on the grounds to start the protection, and the boys just say, well, we have no time for that, and they all walk in and set up, and next thing you know, the two of them got hit real hard. The reason why, and even Troy never got bothered, because he was already around me already. And so when Mike and Glenn got hit, and when they dealt with their sickness and they dealt with letting go of it, I said, look, guys, we're not going to carry on. We need to do the prayer protection now. We need to regroup. So we regrouped, and then they were fine after that. So it's something that we have to learn to do before any investigation, whether it's small or large. We always have to do prayer protection, because it's the spirit world that does protect us, because we ask for them to help us. I mean, yes, we may have different tools of protection, but they are important to us. There's the positive side, and then there could also be the negative side, the thing that's going to challenge you. And when we go into investigate, so that's how things turn out and work out. And we try to be as positive as much as we can, because we're working throughout the whole night. I mean, I got the best group of guys I've ever worked with ever. I mean, I've had a paranormal crew before, my own team. Glenn and ours already had been part of another team. Mike has already been part of his own other team. And Troy was working with Glenn. So, when we decided to come and sit down together and say, you know what, let's start something different. Let's all bring all our own personal experiences together from other teams, and let's actually see if we can create a group. And so then we came up with the name Chronicles of the Unknown, because we are the go-to team, go-to. And because we have the experience, we don't have to, I guess you'd say, you got to have experience from different areas. And it's always good to have that, not just one person, one belief system, learning one way. we have different ways of learning things, techniques, so we share that amongst each other. That's how we protect ourselves, and we feel more safer that way.
I have a question for you, Derek, from the Space Out Radio chat room here on Spreaker. It comes from Quantez. It's kind of an interesting question, and I never really thought about this. His question is, let's say you have a set of twins and one dies. Will the surviving twin be able to recognize where the ghost twin is? Have you ever heard of that?
Not too sure about that, because some twins don't. I can't even say to use the word twin. It depends on each of the children and how they're taught the belief systems through families and whoever their guardian is to raise them. If there's a twin brother or twin sister is able to communicate with the other twin that's passed away, great. There are some that don't even think of it. They just keep on living for that. So, like, for example, Elvis Presley had a twin. And apparently, supposedly, he talked to his brother all the time, but it was never known to. He never talked about his brother through all his life. But there was times that he said he'd sit there and by himself when he's on his own and talk to his own brother in the spirit world. But that's just the way things are. It depends.
Mm-hmm. We are talking with Derek White, Sky Cloud, and Troy Ryan from Chronicles of the Unknown tonight on Spaced Out Radio in our debut show of the monthly Chronicles of the Unknown Paranormal Chat, as well as our debut show right here on Spreaker. Now, Troy, I want you to explain what happened here. When you guys were last up north, and you were investigating here in British Columbia, a town called Quesnel, a museum. They have a haunted doll named Mandy the Haunted Doll. Mm-hmm. I want you to explain what happened to Glenn there, because this is very important. As Derek said, if you do not protect yourself, some weird things can happen.
Well, there was an incident where we had actually just arrived, and we had left equipment, cameras and recording devices with Mandy the doll overnight, and so we had just gone in to really inspect the equipment and figure out if it had stayed on, how long it stayed on, all that kind of stuff. And we were doing that, and three of us, Mike, Glenn, and I, were kind of walking back and forth in and out of the staging area where the doll and everything is. And Mike and I ended up leaving Glenn in there for a period of time because we were moving equipment around and stuff like that. And then when we came back in, he was kneeled in front of the doll, staring at the doll. And, we didn't think anything of it. We just continued to work around him. And as we were working around him, we kind of noticed he seemed to be in a stare at the doll, so we sort of started poking fun at him, cracking jokes at him and stuff like that. And he wasn't reacting at all, and it was kind of strange. So I walked up behind him and just looked into the mirror behind the doll where, in where he was looking, and his eye met my eye, and when that happened, it's like it snapped him out of whatever he was in. And he stood up and he just looked at me and says, "I got to get out of here. I'm sick." And he went running out of there. And so I grabbed the camera and followed him out. And he said he couldn't remember anything from probably 5 minutes went by. And that when he was in that crouched position, that he has really bad knees and wouldn't normally be crouched like that, he was saying. So that he can't crouch like that. So it was really odd. He was sick. He was very agitated. I had the camera in his face and had him explain what happened and everything else. And I'm sure that'll be pretty good footage when the show comes out. And yeah, that's what happened. So it took him a while to recover, probably about a half an hour.
And Derek, this gets into what you're saying. If you rush into the investigation, if you're not going through the protection of what you guys are going through, this danger can help. We got about 1 minute before we go to break, and we'll continue this topic in hour number 2. But warm us up with this a little bit, Derek. How do you start by protecting the crew?
Well, whenever I tell people, the guys that work with us, we always ask the Great Spirit to watch over us, protect us and give us guidance, and that we don't come to harm from anything that's dark. And we ask the Great Spirit to keep us protected in a beautiful white light and other higher beings. What I also do is I ask for an extraterrestrial protection and the star beings, because sometimes we have to deal with certain things that doesn't belong on this earth, and that are here not too often. But it helps, and then I just take our tobacco and our medicines, we lay it down to the ground in front of the location that we're walking in, so we're asking for permission to come in, and it makes it simpler for us and easier to deal with having to deal with your heart starts to pound if you're not feeling you're protecting yourself. This way you feel more calmer and you're able to walk into your job and get it done.
Awesome. We are with We're with Troy Ryan and Derek White Sky Cloud tonight on Spaced Out Radio. They are part of the 4-member team of Chronicles of the Unknown. We're going to step out for a break here at the top of the hour. When we come back, we're going to get Derek to explain what he goes through, a very sacred tradition to protect his team with the heritage and everything that goes along with the spirit world right after this. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be right back.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Every month on Spaced Out Radio, we look into the deep and dark reports of cryptids roaming around the world with me, Rob Morphy, from Cryptopia.us. I would love it if you would join me and host Dave Scott as we delve into the most arcane stories and reports regarding creatures of the unknown. My job is to hunt down the details and bring the evidence forward to you. These aren't your regular Bigfoot stories I'm talking about either. You can find out more about crypto history at spacedoutradio.com.
With an ever-expanding listenership base, Spaced Out Radio is the perfect place for you to advertise your product. Our listeners support those who sponsor this show. So whether you're an author or a company, Spaced Out Radio is the perfect place for you. Our pricing is more than competitive, and your advertisements will be seen and heard every show. Head to spacedoutradio.com and advertise with us today. Contact us at info@spacedoutradio.com today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Is the 24-hour world starting to wear you down? Let me from Rivulet Reiki and Readings lend you a hand. Hi, this is Jolene, and if you're in need of Reiki or a realm reading, come to my website, rivuletrr.wix.com/rivuletrr&r, and let us help you out. At Rivulet, I specialize in healing your body, mind, and soul, no matter where you are. And be sure to check out the Rivulet R&R Facebook page for your best deals. Remember, it's time for you to make some time for you.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room. and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Want to connect with us online? Find us on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show, on Twitter, @Spaced Out Radio, on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, on YouTube, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. All right, space travelers, here comes the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Make that the second hour. Well, that's all right. We're going through this anyways. We'll get that figured out here. Hey, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning in to our first broadcast on Spreaker. There's going to be a little bit of a technical glitch every now and again, but we'll get it figured out. Thank you so much for sticking with us and pushing us to get bigger, better, and on a better format as well. Thank you to our listeners taking part in the new Spaced Out Radio chat room in Paranormal Into the Night and Paranormal Forum. I know you guys wanted this. We brought it to you. Now spread the word on what we are doing. That's all I ask in return for everything that we bring to you on a nightly basis. Tomorrow night on the show, we are going to be talking crypto with our crypto historian from Cryptopia.us, Rob Morphy. Now, I am going to forewarn you, Rob is dealing with a cold. He got hit last night with that real bugger of a cold that's going around North America right now. He's going to try his best to get on the air tomorrow night with us, but if he can't, we're going to go to open lines, and we'll pick the topic. We'll let you know everything that is going on Spaced Out Radio tomorrow night. Hey, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. You can give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also ask to join our private Spaced Out Radio group as well as Podcast Central. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. On YouTube, where this show will be downloaded right after, because our archives are free, you can go to Spaced Out Radio Show as well. And our new look website, thanks to Mrs. SOR, is spacedoutradio.com. Tonight we are talking paranormal with a tandem from Chronicles of the Unknown, Derek White Sky Cloud and Troy Ryan. And this is a monthly feature that we are just starting tonight. When I looked at our monthly features that we were doing, I accidentally forgot about the paranormal. So I brought in the best guys that I know, Chronicles of the Unknown, to come in and do this once a month with us. Derek and Troy, thank you so much for being with us.
Well, I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Not a problem. I want to start off with a question from Bill in Paranormal Into the Night chat room. And he is asking, and both of you can answer, and Troy, we'll start with you. Are spirits aware of the passage of time? If they are still attached to family members, do they think that it is still around the same time as when they passed?
That's a really good question. I wish I could tell you the answer to that. I'm not a spirit. Honest to God, Dave, I don't know. It's my understanding that there is no time in the spirit world. That it's not like the time is here. It's not where they are. Mm-hmm. That's the way I understand it. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Derek, what's your take on that?
When a person passes away, they have no connection to the future. Their thinking is that they've lived that life. And for example, when a person say a person gets that person's house and they're not a relative, and they want to renovate that house, what's the first thing that person that's still around in spirit, if he sees a house being changed around and he objects against it, and that's why the house never gets completely finished, that tells you that they don't like change. They're going like, wait a minute here, why are you changing my house? This is what I built. I don't want change. And so there are some, and also what I've learned through the years, that There are other groups that come in other people's homes that could be 100 years previously before, but they don't see the other spirits that existed recently because they only know what was then. There's no connection whatsoever from the same world, same time period. So there's a bit of a time. I'm not going to say time zone. There's a bit of a time elapse that they only understand, but they don't see other spirits. They only focus specifically on how they live their lives then.
Mm-hmm. Derek, I want to get back to what we were talking about right before we went to break. We were talking about how you guys protect yourself going into an investigation. I would love it if you could take a step-by-step of your process, because you're very traditional with your First Nations background, and a lot of groups aren't doing this. So if you could explain what you do exactly, and then why it's a good idea to protect yourself before going in on an investigation.
Well, what we do is we start a fire outside the building, and no, just kidding.
We put a big burning cross right in the middle of it. Oh my gosh.
It's not really as, I mean, a lot of people are thinking that we have to spend a long time praying before we start. My wife, for example, she the night before we even go, she'll pray for us to protect us, and she'll sit down and she prays and make sure that we drive there safely, and there at the location drive home safely back. And it's not just the journey walking to building; it's basically protecting ourselves and taking care of each other on the journey up there to that location. It's not just, when you get to the location, okay, now we do the protection going in. No, we're protected all the way. Yeah, we go there with great intention. We go there with not with an attitude. We don't go there to any location with a snarky attitude or, I'm going to do this. I'm not scared of nothing. I'm not going to play that person, and neither does Glenn, and neither does Mike or Troy. We don't go in there with an attitude. We can't, because if you did, that's who gets to hurt the most. And those guys, anybody ever did, they're going to learn a lesson. I've heard people say, I'm not afraid of nothing. I'll go in there and just challenge them. Go ahead. You're going to get hurt, but I'm not going to be around to see it, because that's, you don't want to do that. But when we prepare, we stand together in a circle. We talk to each other and give each other motivation. And then we start talking about, we ask Creator to watch over our brothers and those that are with us, and that everything works out well with us, that we're doing well, and that we're guided well. And that when the evening turns out, we do call out those to come and communicate through us, with us, for us, in the community, if they want to give us a message for those who want to be heard. And then we go in. And it makes it a whole lot simpler. But each of the guys will take a tobacco before they walk in, and they have their own personal prayer, and then we make the offering at the front door outside of the building to the Creator, because you're honoring for what you're walking into, whether it's inside of a location or outside a location, you're honoring the land, because it's the earth that's allowing you to walk into, because you're walking into a different place, location. Because there are times that spirits don't want you to walk into the places. Often tobacco is one of the most sacred medicine around. Yeah.
And Derek, I have a question from the Spaced Out Radio chat room from Coco. What do you say to people that don't think they need protection going into a case?
Good luck.
Maybe I should answer that, since I'm going to be considered a skeptic.
Go for it, Troy.
Going into these places, we all have our different beliefs or backgrounds or, things we've come to learn in our lives. And when we go into these investigations, we really lean on, let's just say, each other's beliefs, and we have a great respect for what each other thinks and believes. So to say that we do any one thing would be remiss. We do a few things, probably from a few different beliefs, with great respect to all of it. And I truly believe, being on investigations with these guys and seeing enough evidence firsthand, that if you don't do that, you are being foolish, because there are things that we just don't understand. And that's why we take many precautions, not just one.
Yeah.
So, Derek, I'm going to focus this back on you for a moment here, because you've been doing this a lot longer than anybody else in the group, besides maybe Glenn. When you are dealing with this, or you have rookie teams coming up to you and wanting to do the investigation, or you see all these new teams that are popping up left, right, and center, and they're telling you what they're going after and what they're going to get, so on and so forth, do you ask them point blank, are you smudging yourself? Are you protecting yourself? Or do you just kind of let them find out on their own, because they're probably too hell-bent on their own agenda to worry about what advice you might be able to give them?
I'll give you an example. I don't ask them if they're, because I expect that they would follow through some sort of protection for themselves. I mean, most of the teams are not going to be that foolish to walk in and don't do anything. I mean, but mind you, you're going to have the odd one that will be skeptical about not even believing in God, period. But the one that doesn't believe in God is pretty well the one that actually gets hit the worst. And even though we do pray for that person we'll do it quietly. We pray for that person to be protected. But at times, I'm not putting religion in it, but there is a creator out there that's watching over us, because we ask to be protected. Which basically what it means is with intention. You're asking for protection from the other side, the spirit world. In my language, we call Gitche Manitou is our the great creator. It's so. I mean, we don't have to. I mean, Jesus is part of it, but Gitche Manitou is how I would see Jesus. We call him Gitche Manitou, the Great Spirit. The Great Father. It's still the same. Either way, you're going to take that chance going in if you really want to find out what it's like. The only thing that, and Troy understands, Troy and I we've been talking about this for a long time, but there are a lot of young guys that they think if they see paranormal shows on TV that they can create their own team that way, that they think that's all, they know everything. That's not everything. You have to really have to be trained by a few professionals before you actually walk right in all by yourself and think you can do it on your own. Because pretty well anybody who's inexperienced and think they can actually do the investigation without experienced people, they're going to get hit the hardest. They're going to they may end up getting hurt the worst. And I really don't want that to happen to them, because it's not a good thing. And I have seen a 15-year-old boy, 16-year-old boy, not with me, but with another paranormal team. He was a really good kid, and he went with a paranormal group. This is about maybe 16 years ago. And he was going with this group to do some experimenting of paranormal investigating in a graveyard. And when he got home, he felt very weird. The next couple of days, he felt his mom was noticing he was changing differently, acting differently. And then she brought him to me because she knew what was going on. So she called me up and she said, "Derek, can you work with my son? Because something's going on with him. I don't know what happened." So he came over. She brought him over, and he sat down in front of me. And I said, "So I hear your mom's telling me you're going through some problems." And I said, "What were you doing?" And he says, "She was telling me about you going to a graveyard, and you're trying to communicate with people in the graveyard. I said, did you put any protection around yourself? Then all of a sudden his eyes turned jet black, just jet black. His irises, everything, all black. And his voice changed and yelled, and he smacked his fist on the table and says, I don't need no protection. I am the one. And I'm thinking, what the heck? You know, like it's like startled me. So it caught me off guard. So then I immediately got up off my chair and called in for the relatives and spirit to protect me, but also to stand up against that demon that actually took the boy and possessing him. And so people have to realize it's not as easy as you think to go into anything, you know. And but we did eventually get the demon out of him. It was determined to stay, but I had to take him to another medicine man friend of mine who was from the Lakota. We took him to a Uipi ceremony, calling of the spirits, and I had his mom to go with him. And there was about 200 people that showed up, and I told mom what he had to do, but I told her to tell him that he needs to go with his mom to help her heal. So, because you can't just tell him that he's got to go with his mom, they're going to heal him, because he won't go. He wouldn't go. This way here, I asked him if he can go with her to help him heal. So I gave tobacco to the medicine man, a friend of mine, Crow Dog, and he's at the Rosebud Reserve. And Crow Dog took care of him at the same time. I was there too. And the calling of the spirits was in the dark. And by the time the night was done, within 2.5, 3 hours, and when they turned the lights on, the boy was, the demon never came back. The demon was gone. Because Crow Dog helped. I mean, we all prayed for the boy. There's many things that happened. There was a great participation. And so, like I said, I tell people, be very careful. Some of the things that you deal with, it's not as easy as you think.
Derek, I want to ask you a quick question here about demons, but first we got a question from the Space or Paranormal Into the Night chat room for you. This comes from Nisa. Why do you think, Derek, that the spirits hit on the non-believers more often than those of us desperate to experience something paranormal?
It's because the ones that are non-believers, at times they have a tendency of challenging the other side. It depends on each individual. Not everybody who plays a skeptic is going to challenge them, but say, like, for example, Troy, you know, Troy has his own way and belief system, okay? I'm not going to speak for Troy. But Troy, he goes through his own experiences, but he also understood that he respects for what I do, he respects what Glenn does, he respects what Mike does. So we all work together as a team. Now, if Troy went in by himself without and decided to do this on his own, then, you know, there could be cause and effect that either something would happen to him or not. So it depends. Everybody is an individual, and everybody makes a decision on their own. You make that decision if you want to try it yourself. But like I always tell people, it's always good to partner with someone, never go in by yourself. You see some of these people on TV, these guys are supposed to be in their room alone, right? On these paranormal shows, in the room alone, but they're not in the room alone because they're in with the camera guy. The camera guy's holding the camera. So not entirely alone, unless the camera is in the room by themselves. Like we had Glenn. Glenn wanted to be by himself in one of the houses that we investigated. So we left him in this one house while we're on another location. He wanted to challenge the idea of being in the house by himself, and he did, right? But because of his military experience and his mother's experience that taught him how to do it, he was prepared. So there's a difference. Everyone's different. But if anybody says on TV that these guys were inside this jail and it's haunted, or and this building is haunted and they were by themselves with the camera on, no, this camera guy's standing there. He's actually holding the camera while the guy's talking on the camera. They will never let anybody in the room by themselves to be by themselves because they would not get paid for doing it being by themselves. If anything ever happens to them, say they got hurt on location, guess who's in trouble? It's not the paranormal team. So, yeah.
I want to get into the whole demon talk lately because the paranormal field in the last 6 to 8 months has gone demon crazy. Derek, out of all the years you have been investigating, and you mentioned the young boy had a demon in him, but how many demons have you truly dealt with on the hundreds of investigations you've ever been on?
3. I had 3. I had 2 boys. The one boy and another boy I did a ceremony for. He was a demonic possession. He was playing a game of truth or dare with a Ouija board, and he got possessed. That boy committed suicide later. We tried to depossess him, and he didn't like the idea of being depossessed. We did remove the ghost of the demon from him, but for some reason his mother said that he was crying every night, wanting it back. Then he committed suicide. He hung himself. The third person, the young man, was actually from Mexico, and he brought back the demon that was trying to possess him. We had to do a different type of ceremony that related to the traditions of Mexico, which was we had to use goat's milk in the ceremony and corn. So to honor the spirits, there is a different way of doing it compared to here in what ceremonies we do here. So we prepared that way. That was a long ceremony. It was a long day to do that one, but he noticed a big difference, and the demon never came back to him. But his demonic possession was verbal words, and he was speaking a lot of Spanish, but it was he actually originally himself was not Spanish. He never understood Spanish, but he went to Mexico to visit his new girlfriend, but apparently something happened. He went to a graveyard with some friends or whatever, and I guess something he picked up there in Mexico. And I guess he brought it back and then started attacking him in his own apartment. That's where it started. But those are the 3. I've never had that much since.
What do you think then, Troy, of the whole demon phenomena that it seems to be going through the paranormal field these days? Because it seems like all of a sudden everybody is a demonologist, knows how to cast demons out of there, and everything has to do with these absolute evil spirits that, for the most part, are pretty hard to come by.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never come across one myself, and I know even in my discussions with Glenn, and I know he's done hundreds of investigations as well. He told me he's only come across one. So I don't know. I hope I don't come across one. That's for sure.
How would you react if you did?
I might act like Mike and run. Big smart thing to do, I would think.
Dude, run.
At least I hope that's what I would do. I don't know. I might tell it off too. Who's to say? And when I had my back scratched like that, I don't know what did that. Maybe I have run into one and just don't know it.
Derek, do you think it's just about the popularity of what the television shows are doing, or do you think that there's actually more evil spirits out there because of the status of the world right now?
No, I think what it is the media is feeding it to people like us. The more people are absorbed into horror movies like zombies and like I've been hearing more new paranormal shows are coming on. I mean, there was one that one time was coming on that came on a few years back, and these paranormal guys, team was supposed to be, they were going to cut themselves. They cut themselves, make themselves bleed to get the blood, to get the demon to come forward. They did another one where now there's some other paranormal team they're talking about. I'm not sure if it actually did happen or not, but there was a paranormal team. They're going to go in naked, naked paranormal team. Like, what the hell for? Who are you going to call out? Right? If you want to get scared, something's going to shrink really quick.
Sounds like a gimmick to me.
It is a gimmick.
Well, I mean, in the end, though, gentlemen, when it comes to television, there's a lot of people who don't understand that a lot of these subjects are about ratings. They're not about what the investigator is actually going through. It's not about what the people are going through. It comes down to the fact of how much money can this show on this topic make for the network. Because we all know the hosts aren't really getting paid that much. So when it comes down to it, people who are your weekend warriors are wandering around trying to figure out, well, this must be what I do in order to deal with subject A or demon B or whatever it is. And that can be very tough for a lot of people. Derek, your take on that?
Well, yeah, at one point, the companies, the productions, they want to make it a hit where you want to keep people on the edge. Well, you know what? That's what paranormal teams are for. We can keep people on the edge. There are things out there that are manifested as real. And, I mean, like I said, that's why we decided to do we work as a historical paranormal research, because you're taking chances. You're going in and you're hoping that something does happen. If it doesn't happen, you're being honest. But people have to remember, too, there are some locations that are really, really haunted in British Columbia, but the major locations that are very haunted is Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Alberta. Manitoba has the highest paranormal activity. I was from there. Has the highest paranormal activity there, no matter which town or city you live in. Winnipeg is one of also the biggest paranormal active places. Glenn and I worked together there, and we had a lot of paranormal activity. I did a seance downstairs in one of the hotels, the Marble Hotel. We made contact with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle through the seance, where in 1932 he also did a seance to make contact to find Houdini. So here we are playing the same role after all these years. And the reason why people are going, Arthur Conan Doyle was in Winnipeg? Yes, he was. There is actually a specific place called the Marlborough Hotel that in the basement, it wasn't specifically a basement, actually it was a club for newsmen that would all gather together, and they'd have special guests invited down to the place in this hotel. The hotel was very, very, very high class, busy hotel many years ago. And that's where people would stay. That's where they would be in the hotels for as long as they can. Arthur Conan Doyle stayed at this hotel. So when Glenn and I were at this paranormal conference, we were there for the 3 days, and him and I were doing our investigations. He was in one of the other rooms upstairs, and I was in another room downstairs doing the seances. I did 2 seances in one night in 2 different rooms. So we had about 30 people in one room that wanted to experience it, and then we had our original crew that already have the experience, and there was about 15 or so of us downstairs. And we had an round oak table that was trying to lift off the ground when we were doing the seance.
Gentlemen, I'm going to get you to hold on here for our final break of the night. We are talking with Troy Ryan and Derek White Sky Cloud from Chronicles of the Unknown. This is the first of a monthly series that we will do with Derek and Troy, as well as Glenn and Mike, who are not on tonight. We're going to rotate the crew. Once a month they will come on. It'll be the 3rd Monday of every month that Chronicles of the Unknown comes in to talk paranormal here on Spaced Out Radio. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be right back after this final break.
Looking for a place to get your product to the public? Advertise with us at Spaced Out Radio. At spacedoutradio.com, you can check out our pricing and packages that best suit your budgetary needs. Whether you're a budgeted author or a company looking to expand, our listeners support the products that support spacedoutradio.com. Advertising with us is an effective way to get your message out. Contact us at info@spacedoutradio.com and get your ads out today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Right here, this is where we divulge the fruit of our research. Here on the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on Spaced Out Radio. And we give it up to you guys, all the listeners, and the live listeners usually get something special and hang out in the chat room, and we love to have you. So we'll see you every Saturday night at 8 p.m. You know where.
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
The last Monday of the month on Spaced Out Radio is a night of psychic vision, mediumship, UFO and ET contact, Bigfoot stories, animal communication, and so much more with me, Elizabeth Anglin. I'd love it if you would join host Dave Scott and I on the myriad of topics we delve into. Every month, we share new views that may help you understand your own experiences. So tune on in at spacedoutradio.com and stamp your cosmic passport.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Missed most of tonight's show? Don't worry, you didn't miss a thing. You can head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and download our archives for free. And don't forget to get your Space Travelers membership today. Now, back to tonight's show. Welcome back to the last half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. We've rounded third. We are heading for home tonight. Wow, this show has flown by tonight. You know what? So much thanks comes from me to you, our audience, especially those in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, in Paranormal Into the Night and Paranormal Forum. Thank you so much for helping push us to get to this part. You know what? I've haven't had a show in a long time where I've smiled through the entire thing. I have been absolutely loving this, and the support and the love that you guys have been doing to spread the word about our move is absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much. Tomorrow night on the show, the crypto historian Rob Morphy will be back with us. He is feeling a little ill. He's got that flu that everyone has right now that's kicking the crap out of everybody. He's going to try and make it tomorrow night. If not, we are going to go to open lines, and I will let you guys know as soon as I know tomorrow from Rob on how he's feeling. Let's hope that he can make it, because he is one heck of an interview and one heck of a dude who knows his history around Cryptopia. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. You can give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also find us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. On YouTube, where this show will be automatically downloaded because our archives are free, you can go to Spaced Out Radio Show, subscribe to our channel, and listen to the show as many times as you want. That's the way it's going to work around here. And, of course, our new look website is spacedoutradio.com. Now, for the final time tonight, we bring in Troy and Derek from Chronicles of the Unknown. This is a new series that we are debuting tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Members from the Chronicles team will be here once a month, the third Monday of every month, as we talk paranormal, as we talk what it's like to get out there and investigate. Tonight, Derek and Troy are with us. Mike and Glenn are taking the night off. They'll be here next month. Guys, thank you so much. This show has flown by so far.
Flown by fast, Dave. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Now, Troy, let's start off with you, because I'm very curious. When we've talked about demons tonight, we've talked about what it's like to be touched. Derek, you talked about what it was like to actually have a spirit enter your body. Troy, what is the eeriest story you have since you've been investigating?
The eeriest story. Maybe the Colmont Hotel probably was pretty eerie for me. That was a place where Glenn had a possession. That was the first time I saw something attack him from the inside. His heart was nearly pounded out of his chest. I put my hand on his chest, and it was literally bouncing into my hand. We had to get him right out of the building, and it took quite a time to a lot of prayer to get him normal again. And then also at that place on the third floor, I was up there with a couple other people and a camera. I had the camera and recorded a disembodied voice that we all heard with our ears that basically said, "Troy, don't go in the room." And it was really creepy too, because when you listen to it on the tape, it went, "Troy, don't go in the room." It was really weird. And that's not the way I heard it at the time when we heard it. What I did hear clearly was my name, and it was really weird because I was with two other people, and when I heard it, I said, "Did you guys hear that?" And they both in stereo said yes. And then I went, "No, I mean, did you hear my name?" And they both in stereo went, "Yes." So that was pretty validating for me, and I mean, we were in a condemned building pretty much.
Derek, how about yourself?
When I spent some time with Troy. No, just kidding. Doesn't matter.
I can be frightening.
Yeah. No, I would say the freakiest one. Well, I would say in a different way. I was had a Ford Windstar car one time. It's like an SUV car or SUV van, and I was in Alberta and I was doing readings on the campground and was giving readings to some people, and I was doing readings out of my car in the back seat. Like you open the whole side door and you can sit down and you can do readings out of the car. I was doing readings out of the campground. And this one particular mother and daughter, and as I was walking in, the ladies were sitting down in the seat, and I was walking in the car into the side. All of a sudden I felt this hand grabbed me by the shoulder and ripped me right out of the whole car and threw me back out of the vehicle. I went back about 10, 12 feet and landed right square in my rear end. And I got up and I went, what the hell? And the lady said they saw an image of a man who they did not recognize in spirit from as a ghost, grabbed me and threw me out of the car, and found out later that man, actually I did some research, found out later that this man actually shot himself in the park. He committed suicide there. So I guess the reason why he killed himself, because it was all to do with him and his wife breaking up. So I guess me doing readings, and I think he was trying to get my attention to talk to him. And I was avoiding him. I thought, well, it's not important, but I guess he made sure that I paid attention. And then I would say, I forgot about this other one that I was going to talk about, but the most exciting one is where I flew 20 feet across from one house to the front gate of a yard. I was lifted by my arms from the top stairs of a house and landed on my feet on the sidewalk in the front of the gate of a yard, 20 feet.
Oh, wow.
And how it was the dead of winter. This happened about 5 years ago. I was doing a psychic party, and this woman who was a widow just finished doing a party at her house, making contact with her husband that passed away, and friends and family that was there. And we just called it a night. I was all done, and this was in winter time. And she, in her house, when you walk up, you have to walk upstairs into the house, because the houses back then, your basement actually is on the main ground, and then you have to go up about 10 to 12 feet up these big, huge 2x6 or 2x8 stairs, and they go up a good height. I would say 8-9 feet high, maybe 10. And so I was outside the veranda on the top of the stairs, and it was in, like I said, dead of winter, and I wear cowboy boots. And she said to me to be really careful not to slip, because these stairs can be slippery. And I said, I'll be okay. And as I'm stepping down, my boot slipped on ice, I guess, and I was supposed to go up, like, as if I was going to wipe out. I went, whoops. Next thing I know, I felt two hands or arms grab me both sides, and I flew literally all the way across 20 feet to the front yard, in front of the gate of the yard, and landed on my feet. I turned around with the briefcases in my hand. I turned around and looked up at her, and she went, oh, and her mouth was on her hands on her mouth. She goes, oh my God, have you got angels on your side?
Well, that's a good thing.
That was a good one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was taking care of.
Derek, does it get old for you? Because I'm sitting here as you guys are telling the stories, and I'm trying to think about my freakiest paranormal story. And it happened probably in around 2001, where my ex-wife and I lived in a haunted house. And I remember that my daughter, who was about 3 years old at the time, was a sleepwalker. And I'd got home from work late, working at the radio station. It was about 1:30 in the morning. I worked in sports, so I turned the television on to the sports highlights, even though I'd been broadcasting them all night. But, you don't want to miss anything, or make sure, it's like doing homework. And my daughter walks down the stairs, and she falls asleep on me. And my neighbor had this dog that at 4 o'clock in the morning, every morning would have a barking fit. Yep. And I would just be getting into my deep sleep, and here's that damn dog barking. And I remember, I guess I must have fallen asleep on the couch with my daughter, and I hear the dog barking. And I was going to roll over. I'm facing the back of the couch as I wake up, and my daughter is laying between me and the couch on my arm. So I slowly start to try and turn over, because I'm going to go open the window and tell the dog to shut up. And as I roll over and start to pull my arm from underneath my daughter, I turn and look, and there is like a 3-year-old little girl standing there in a white nightie with long, curly ringlet hair, pudgy cheeks, staring at me about 2 feet away, and I could see right through her, and the time on my VCR, because that's how long ago it was still a VCR, was 4:02 a.m. And I did what any man would do. I quickly, gave out a scream and threw the blankets back over my head and rolled back towards the couch,
And a 3-year-old little girl.
Yeah, absolutely. So my first thought was, okay, I pinch, believe it or not, you go through all the steps when you don't know of anything. Okay, I'm going to pinch myself and see if I'm awake. I pinch myself. Okay, I'm awake. Number 2, is it my daughter? No, my daughter is laying on my arm. It's not her. So I was like hyperventilating at that time because I'd never seen anything like that before in my life. And I roll over and she was gone. That's probably the eeriest story that I've had because it was a child, and not just like a 9-10-year-old, but a 3-year-old little girl. And the picture that she was portraying was so vivid from the white nightie. And you know what? I recall I asked you about this about a year later. I asked you about this when I first met you. You came to a group reading at a friend's house, and you told me her name was Sally, and you said specifically, do you have a split stairway that is very steep? And I said, yes. And you said the picture that I am getting is that she was being chased by her brother and fell down the stairs, and when she hit the bottom, she broke her neck and died. And I will never forget that.
Wow.
So you've actually seen an apparition. That's more than I've seen. That's awesome.
Well, that's because you're in there with a blindfold, Troy.
Maybe I don't want to see one. I don't know.
I have a question from Gail in Paranormal Into the Night. Do you think, Troy or Derek, that these ghosts have any right to privacy to not be disturbed?
That's an interesting topic that my wife and I were actually discussing today. It's funny that question should be there because we were discussing that. That's a really good question because I've often wondered that. Like, are we disturbing their peace? Like they're supposed to be resting peacefully. It's something I've considered. Or are they in purgatory there? Or are they stuck in between? Like, that's a very good question. I don't know. What do you think, Derek?
Well, should we disturb them? They like being disturbed. They come in there for a reason, is to find out if they're there, and if they're still around, why are they still around? That's why we redo the research. If they don't like being bothered, is because they could be there they think they're protecting the place. That's the reason why that one ghost jumped out of my face and scared Mike, because he believed that what I realized after, the ghost thought Mike was trying to take his gold. And we found out also later that Mike actually was the past life of that RCMP officer that may have arrested him or someone else, and he looked familiar to him. Because sometimes when we go to some of these locations that are haunted, they also are what you call curiosities of our past lives, and wonder why we're going back there. Because sometimes people say, I don't know why I feel led I need to go there. And for some reason, Mike had this urge. He just had to be in this building. He just had to be there. And yet he still has those curiosities. And when we did the one investigation in Quesnel, we found a picture of the very same officer that may have been the one that Mike used to be.
I have a question from Armand coming in from Paranormal Forum. Question for you, Derek. Is it true some ghosts don't really realize they're dead?
Yes. Sometimes when the person passes away suddenly, especially a heart attack, they don't know they're dead. And that's what takes people like us to tell them, no, do you know you died? Do you know that you died? They'll go into denial. Sometimes they don't want to hear it. And there are times it takes them a while to accept it, or not to accept it, and they'll still fight for years to accept the fact that they've actually passed away. It's not very easy for some of them. They have a hard time dealing with it.
What is the reaction, Derek, when you've told a spirit that they've passed on? Do they get depressed? Do they get mad? Like you mentioned that some of them might not even know, so it opens up a whole different realm of questioning here towards that.
I had a situation where there was a little boy that passed away, died of SIDS, and his mother was, I ran a sweat lodge at one time, and she came to see me she wanted to go through her own personal healing, her grieving, because she lost her son through SIDS. And when we have the ceremony, I normally don't tell a story too often, but it's very similar, where the child stuck around for its mother because the mother had a hard time letting him go because he passed away, and she blamed herself, believing that she was at fault. She was looking for the fault in herself. Was I a good mother? Did I take care of him right? What did I do wrong? And I told her, you didn't do anything wrong. It was his time. He chose not to stay, and not because she was a bad mother. She never was. I say he left because all he wanted to learn was your love, learn all about love. It was nothing to do with having to stay on this earth to live full life. He just wanted to experience what it's like to be loved by someone who really cared, would have been a great mother and care and nurtured him. And it took her a while to come to terms with that. But at the same time, when we closed the door in the lodge, all of us seen the child's apparition show up, laying down. And the child looked almost like transparent blue, and it appeared laying next to its mother in the lodge. And the mother was comforted by her son laying next to her, and she felt at peace again. And then what happened after that, after the lodge was finished, when everybody was outside having a feast, and I sat down, and I started feeling sick. And I said to my firekeeper and his mother, and I said, guys, I'm going down here, and I got to find a feeling, I got to do something. And I sat down, and they settled me down, and I somehow left my body. And I saw myself carrying this very same little boy, carrying him to his grandmother in the spirit world. And to me, it felt like minutes. And then suddenly I just went like how you pull out of a quick vision or a dream, and went, like you're pulling with your air. And next thing you know, I said to them, how long have I been out? And they said, you've been gone for half an hour. And I told them what happened, and they said, and the mother was so happy because she said she was praying inside, asking her mother to come and get her son. And that's what happened. I did not know what she was asking. That was her certain prayer.
Derek, when people pass on, like this little child did, when they're on the other side, do they stay as a child? Or is there an equal age that all spirits turn when they're on the other side?
When a child passes away, they can be the same age, or they can grow up. And most of the time they'll grow up to about maybe 18, 19 years old, because they'll always look very young. When a person who's an elder, that's say 50, 60, 70, 80, or 90s, and they pass away, they get to go back to 30 years old. So we get to make we go to that special age period, and the number 30 is actually the area where we feel the best in our life, because we challenged the world up to 30. We felt at our, like I said, our greatest height is at 30. Not knowledge, not mentality. It's just because we felt 30 was one of the most comfortable numbers we've ever lived. And then when you start going to 40, 50, and 60, and you think, okay, I'm more laid back. But you'll always hear someone say to others, I wish I was 30 again.
I do too, because I didn't have as much gray hair as I do now. But that's just me.
Yeah.
I have a question from Roz in Paranormal Forum. He is asking to either of you, can spirits warn you of impending danger because he feels that his dad and his grandparents do.
Oh, Troy, you there?
Yeah. No, I would say yes to that. Absolutely. I would say the spirit world definitely tries to communicate with us and even help us in certain situations. I would totally agree with that statement.
Derek, do you want to follow that one up?
Yeah, the spirit has a way of wanting to make sure that we're well taken care of, and they'll always come through us in dream time. This year, for me, I had a vision given to me at the beginning of just after the new year. I was wanting to know what's the next thing for me to do in my work, and spirit. I was kind of worried. I guess to say I was putting myself in a place that my wife worried a lot, and I was trying to figure out what to do next. And she, I guess, through my prayers, one night I listened, and this around 3 or 4 in the morning, this woman appeared to me and said to me, "This is a year of abundance." And she says, for all of us not to be worried about the results of how things we believe it to be in a very negative way, but they're more positive, and that that everything will be very successful, and which makes a whole lot of sense because when I shared that with everybody, and I even shared that with you, and here is your brand new station.
Yes. Wasn't it shortly after that we ended up at Spaced Out Radio Land?
Yeah.
For a week?
Yeah. You got into the private Spaced Out Radio compound.
That's right, we did.
Until Glenn crashed his brand new drone right on my snowy roof. Well,
yeah, but you got to practice your fishing skills.
Yeah, that was probably one of the funniest things. So I'm just going to paint a picture for our audience here. Glenn from Chronicles bought a new drone, and he was testing it out at the Space Out Radio compound here in the sticks of British Columbia. And he crashes it into my roof. Now, my roof at that time probably had a good foot and a half of snow on it. And we're looking at this thing, and we're thinking, damn, how do we get this out? All of a sudden, old Davey here has a brilliant idea. I go run downstairs, grab my fishing rod, cast my line and my hook up to the roof, and I actually hooked onto that drone and was able to bring it down without any damage to it. So I was pretty happy about that.
That was pretty cool. We were there.
I went total MacGyver there. Total MacGyver.
You did. It was good.
Well, gentlemen, I want to say thank you for being on the show tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure having you guys on as we look to bring Chronicles into the family a little bit more. And you know what? This was a great first installment, and we will talk to you guys very, very soon. Derek White, Sky Cloud, and Troy Ryan from Chronicles of the Unknown.
Thanks, Dave. It was a pleasure being your first guest on the new platform. You have a great night.
Thanks, Troy. I appreciate that. And Derek, thank you very much once again.
It was a pleasure being on. I look forward to be back here again with you guys. And if anybody has any questions, come and look us up. We have our own Facebook page, Chronicles of the Unknown, or if you want to find Troy or me or Glenn or Mike, give us a scream. We look forward to giving you some questions if you need any questions answered.
Thank you very much.
Let's not forget we're going to be on the SS Sycamoose there in the Okanagan on April 16th.
For sure.
If anybody come down and meet us.
We're hoping that we'll get Mr. Dave down there too, live on location.
I'm going to try my best. I'm going to tell you that right now. I will try my best to get there. But gentlemen, I got to say goodnight, because Mrs. Spaced Out Radio has a nice honey glazed Tim Hortons donut waiting for me, and I'm going to chow down on that. Yes.
Isn't that coming to you?
So, good night, my friends, and we'll talk to you soon.
Good night, Dave. All right, bye.
Let's crank up some Bumblefoot. Good old Bumblefoot, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, the official sound of Spaced Out Radio, and we are the only show that has the Guitar God's music. We thank him for that. Tomorrow night on Spaced Out Radio, we got Rob Morphy coming on, the crypto historian. Rob Morphy, if he's feeling good, he's battling that cold, we're going to try and get through that tomorrow night. If he cannot make it, we're going to do an open line show. Plain and simple. We're going to do open lines if he can't make it. Hey, follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Facebook us, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel, where this show will be downloaded to momentarily as soon as I click the old end button, is Spaced Out Radio Show. Subscribe to our channel today if you wouldn't mind. And of course, our new look website is spacedoutradio.com. We're going to be back here in exactly 22 hours from now. So, you guys go get some sleep. I'm going to go eat my donut. I'm staring at it for the last 2+ hours. And I've been good. I haven't eaten the donut yet. I'm starving. But I will talk to you tomorrow night. Hey, go get some sleep. It's late. We'll check out later. Good night. Thank you for your love and support. Bye-bye.